good morning and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. My name is Ayo Makina. Today is December 23, 2 days shy of Christmas, and guess what? 1 day shy of Christmas Eve.
Well, can't get used to it. It's 28 degrees. It's 28 degrees right here in the nation's capital, but you know, it's hot, it's sunny, and it's expected to rise to about 34 degrees at some point today. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Kayla Megwa. Ayo, we are looking at a year. I think it's time. I think it's that time of the year when we look back and start thinking about the highs and the lows of 2025.
So you want to start the review now?
No, because too much is happening at the same time. I feel like there's a sensory overload on the Nigerian, and how we can handle all of this and keep our sanity, and then just not survive but actually thrive in our lives.
It's a miracle, right?
I don't know. I think at some point that conversation has to be had about how we conduct ourselves and how we manage our mental health as we go into 2026.
You know, I remember the Babangida government. In fact, I think it was the Babangida himself, General Babangida himself, that said about the Nigerian economy in the 80s that the economy wasn't responding to stimuli, so to speak. That they were throwing out all policies also, and it was just not. Yet, the economy did not collapse.
But are we sure it didn't? Because here's the thing, there's a fallacy that we live as a people, where it feels as though, because we're here, we're fine.
Yeah, the economy didn't collapse, because if it collapsed, Nigeria would have filed for bankruptcy. But I don't think that ever happened. You know, so that leads me to something that people say about Nigeria all the time, Nigerians all the time. We are an extremely resilient people, and we shouldn't take it for granted.
Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing that we're able to absorb shock after shock after shock? Is that a good thing?
I wouldn't say absorb. I would use your word. Survive.
Not thrive.
And thrive. In the middle of it, you know. So it's a really, for instance, okay, one of the issues that we'll be talking about this morning, hitherto, and that's one thing a number of people are probably celebrating, the fact that, you know, hitherto, when we have stories of abductions and all, we hear that, you know, a good number of them are released, but not all of them were released. The Chibok girls, we hear a good number of them were released, but not all of them were released. And then those in the Katsina as well, and on and on and on like that. Now we have one that's, you know, happened in Papiri, and a number of people are saying, okay, we'll probably get clarity on the numbers.
The figures, because we need that.
But there's something, you know, I said it's just 1 day shy of Christmas Eve. But on the front page of one of the dailies this morning, one of the school teachers was saying, I never knew I'd do Christmas at home. And so let's have that conversation this morning with Bishop Yohana Bolus, who is the Catholic of the Catholic Diocese of Kontagora. He is also the proprietor of St. Mary's Private Catholic Primary and Secondary School. He joins us virtually this morning. Thanks for joining us this morning, Bishop.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's begin. I think congratulations is in order, Bishop, because the whole nation was very, very much on the side of everyone, particularly about the issue that happened. How did you receive the news? And when you received the news, how did it feel?
We thank God I received the news with great joy. With great joy that at last our prayers have been answered. And I feel that the Lord is with us, and that all those who have been praying for the release of these children, our prayers have been answered. So we are very, very grateful, first of all, to God, to the federal government, state government, and all the individuals, especially the media too, who have really helped us to broadcast this incident that happened. We are very, very happy. Very, very happy.
I can't even begin to imagine.
In fact, since I heard the news, I mean, the first time they released the 100, I started having some bit of sleep. because we still have some of them out. Now that the rest have been released, in fact, the last 2 days I've been sleeping very well.
Now, Bishop, I can't even begin to imagine how the parents themselves felt if you feel the way you have said that you do. Then there is need for a bit of clarity, if you can help us. Have all the children been released? Because the numbers don't seem to be adding up. So help us get a better understanding. We heard that about 315 were abducted, but then if we do the calculation, first 100, then 130, we hear that 50 had initially escaped. So help us understand, total would say 280. But then we are hearing that there were 315. So help us understand what exactly the numbers are.
Well, at the beginning, when this thing happened, we had the head count of 115, 303 students missing, and 12 teachers, making 315 as at the morning when this thing happened. And what we had that, because when we counted them, we couldn't find them. So anybody that we didn't see, we concluded that they must have been taken away. Until after 1 or 2 days, we started having calls from the parents, excuse me, that their wards, their children have been, they are back, those that escaped during the raid. And we had 50, which we have to deduct from that 315. And we now had 265. And it is that 265. So we now decided to also, the government organize a kind of register where we invited the parents, those that couldn't see their children, to come around and register. And of course, it's a rural place where it's so difficult to get information across to all of them. Some of them, they don't have cell phone. It's a place where you travel 4 or 5 hours into the bush. So information get only by word of mouth. So at the first 2 days of the registration, we had 215 or so. And so the message started going around. Now, when we had 100 released, we also have to call them again, that those that have not seen their children should come, so that we were able to have an accurate number. And with that, I think the last 2 days now, we had the final, head count. Those that their children are missing, and we have the figure now. So when there is news that very soon they will be released, we what do you call it now? So we are waiting, and when we finally heard that 130 have been released, we say very good. Now we cannot come up with what we have found from our investigation. The final decision we had. We said, okay, what is going to happen is this. We sent the press release that our children have been released, and we didn't say anything about the number. I am expecting them today, anything, maybe from 12 to 1, they will be around. We'll receive them, thank God, and pray with them, and then send them to their parents, where they'll be waiting at Papri to go and reunite with their parents. Now, the parents have been informed to come around to collect their awards or to be reunited. It is after all of them have received, seen their awards, and nobody is complaining that they didn't see their child. Then we now come up with the figure that we have already found out what happened, the figures that we have, and then we now reconcile everything. So that is why now we cannot say anything until all the parents have come and collect their children, before we now make the final decision. I think that is where we are. So that's why we cannot, because some of them don't have a conflicting figure. That is exactly what we are doing. We want to have accurate information.
Bishop Bulus, I need to be able to give you some ideas to how people are looking at this situation. Even one child in captivity in this country, at least for the Nigerian, for the patriotic Nigerian, one child needs to be, there has to be an explanation as to what happened to even one child. And it's even a little worse when we look at the visuals. when we look at how little these children were. It's an outrage to think that this is happening to children this age. But while we're busy looking at how all of that will affect their future and how their minds are going to work after this and how, you know, what kind of therapy they're going to get for this, I need to explain something. The figures are very crucial. I understand the thinking behind what's happening, Bishop Bliss. I really do. However, it's important that the figures are put out there so that the Nigerian people can keep track, because every child that was taken in this event is a child that belongs to us. We're a community that takes care of our children. So we need to know what those figures are. Is it possible, Bishop, that you can look again at this idea of not giving us what the actual figures are, who is missing, who is left out? Is it possible that you can revisit that and maybe give us a number so we can actually keep track of our children?
Sure. I think I've answered the question. Maybe you didn't get me. That between today and tomorrow, I think you will have the figure. I said they are coming today. We are going to receive them. And when we take them down, we have the figure, but we don't want to announce anything without seeing the children. You don't organize naming ceremony before the child is born. So we want to have everything in place. I don't want to give a figure that will contradict what we say now and then later. No, we want to be sure. They say better be sure than sorry. So by the time, between today and tomorrow, we'll have an official statement with regard to the number. I promise you that.
Well, I'm holding you to that. I'm holding you to that promise, Bishop.
Yes,
but let's talk more about afterwards. So let's say all the children are returned home. You know, one of the questions that came up when the abduction happened in the first place was how much security is in place. In fact, the Safe Schools initiative came under some kind of fire after that, because we start thinking about how can our schools be so porous that people are, you know, bandits and terrorists are now able to use them as a source of income, kidnapping kids and returning them and, you know, all those sorts of things. What happens afterwards for the school, especially for your school?
Yeah, you know, they say once bitten, twice shy. With what has happened, I think security has to be taken seriously, especially with regard to schools. And with the publicity that the place has received now, with what has happened, I am confident that we are going to be of security there, especially with the help of the federal parents to actually, but to know that they will want to see something concrete on ground, so that even the pupils, the students, and all, even those working there, once there is serious security around, I think everybody will be happy to go there. So something about security has to be done, and that is maybe I have a speech that I'm going to read out when we receive them. We have a suggestion what needs to be done, maybe this afternoon when they arrive, as what we need, what is going to happen, or what is our suggestion.
Indeed. Talk to us a bit about the community, because where St. Mary's is located, it's a rural community. How is the community handling all of this?
Well, I don't know. You know, I don't live there. When this happened, I went to the school to ascertain what happened, and since then I've been in Kontagora, because Kontagora is the center. If I stay any other place, there will be nobody will contact me. Well, they have been, I think they have taken everything in good faith, and they are happy that their children are coming back. The federal government and the state government, they did everything possible to have them back. So I can't say much about, but I believe that everyone, especially those who have been calling me, to thank God that they are happy to hear that the children have been released. So, but now I think when it comes to this insecurity, everyone is now conscious of it. And I think that area too, I think some security personnel have been deployed in the place, especially Agwara, which is the local government center, and Papri. You know, the area before there was no much security. You know, it's a very porous. You know, that's why these people can come anytime and go without anybody challenging them. But I think with what has happened, I think the situation has changed.
You know, two things are playing on my mind, Bishop. One of them is, first of all, healing and reassurance for the people. Now that the children are back, what concrete steps are being taken to support their healing? How are we reassuring the parents, for instance, that their children are safe when they go back to school? And then when they go back to school, what are the measures in place to ensure that they don't go through this trauma again?
Well, thank you very much for this question. The first thing is that when this thing happened, already UNICEF they have organized a training workshop for trauma healing for, I think, about 36 or 40 staff of the school and some other persons to help with the trauma healing for those that are abducted. And by the way, the first healing for me, as far as these children are concerned, is to reunite with their parents. That is the biggest of all the healing. You know, what they want now to see their parents and parents to see their children. That is the first thing. Once they see, I mean, when parents have seen their parents, I mean, their children, and the children have seen their parents, that is the first big healing for them. You know, these are rural people who have taken so much of some of the stress that those living in the town cannot. So some of the things that we may be having in our minds, how would give the best feeling for them, the healing is the what do you call it now? The reunion. The reunion. You know, that is the first. And so we are hoping and praying that as soon as now that we have all of them, this trauma healing, with those that have been trained, I think they will now start their work. And for the school to resume, of course, as I said, that we need to put the security measures to see that the place, there is serious security, that we encourage the people, even the parents, to send their word. So I believe that something will be done concretely, since some people have been trained to help these children that are coming back with the trauma healing and all this. So that has been put in place. And so it's a matter of time now. After we have received all of them, I think we'll start organizing that.
I mean, it's a very long process and very worrisome. How many of our children, how many children in schools have to go through all of this? You know, it's almost like we're putting our children in a situation where, you know, from the beginning, it looks like their country is not standing up for them. So it's a long process, and I can imagine how much work you and all those organizations will have to do with these kids. I want to be able to talk about the relationship and the synergy between you and the state government. Are there things that can be done? Because remember, initially when this happened, there was talk about information sharing and this being said and that not being said. And, you know, of course, we're past that now. But how is the relationship between yourself, the school authorities, and the state government now? Is there a better synergy in your view? Or are there places where things need to be fixed?
Yeah, it has been fantastic, extremely fascinating. I think we have very good relationship with the governor, you know. In fact, when he called me to inform me officially that the last batch or the second batch has been released, you know, I know sometimes he also sings some of our Christian hymns. In fact, that's what he started with. Started singing one of our Christian hymns, thanking God that the children have been. So, very fantastic relationship. And I think whatever must have happened in the past, well, the friction is all part of life, you know. So that is past now. With the way he was rejoicing, so happy to receive them, you know, I want to believe that we are going to work together. So whatever must have happened, maybe the misinformation and all this, I don't think we can dwell in the past. So we have a very good relationship, and I believe that we'll build on that. You know, we're not going to dwell on the past.
Well, Bishop Yohana Bulus, I know that there's a lot that you have to do today. I'm holding you to a few promises that you have made. You're supposed to release a statement, and then we're also going to be waiting for you to talk to us about how many children were received, how many are missing. You're going to give us that. You promised. You said you were going to do this in 2 days.
Yes, it's a promise.
So I am holding you to that promise, Bishop.
It's okay.
But we want to thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So much for being with us on Sunrise Daily. Bishop Yohana Bulus, the Catholic, the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Kontagora, joining us via Zoom in Niger State. Thanks again, Bishop.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all your support and all that you have done to make our case known to the world. Thank you. God bless you.
Anytime. Well, it's time for a break. We're going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be switching gears, talking about taxes. They said only two things that are certain in life, death and taxes. But when it comes to our taxes in 2026, there's a lot of things we need to sort out. So please stay for that conversation. We'll be right back.
To look at the gazetted past copy, the vote and proceedings of the House of Representatives, and also went an extra mile to look at the vote and proceedings of the Senate, of what was harmonized. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, what I passed on this floor is not what is gazetted. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have all the copies, but I'm coming under privilege because I was here, I gave my vote, and it was counted, and I'm seeing something completely different.
Your observation is noted and action will be taken. I assure you.
Well, that is the origin of the new wave of interests and conversations around the new tax laws, billed for takeoff a few weeks down the line. Now, the original objective of the tax laws, as many people may be aware of, is to simplify the system and boost revenue. I mean, according to Mr. Oyedele, we had laws that date back pre-independence, but now all of them have been, sort of upgraded. So on the one hand, there are those who believe that indeed it is a journey between the National Assembly's harmonized version and the other end, which is from the harmonized version to the presidency, from the harmonized version to the secretariat where it is typed, then from the point of typing to the point it gets to the presidency, and then from the presidency to the Ministry of Information, whatever happened, if anything happened, that is one. Another leg, conversation that some people are raising, is could this be a strategy by some other people who are already feeling like this new tax reforms will not be in their favor? Is this their own way of fighting back? Well, two gentlemen join us this morning to have a conversation around this. Dr. Chukwuemeka Eze is a tax expert and former chairman, Tax Appeal Tribunal in Southeast Zone. He joins us from our studio in Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Eze.
Thank you, Ayo, for inviting me.
And we also have Professor Godwin Oyedokun, who is a member governing council of Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof. Okay, well, we'll come back to you in a moment, Professor, because we can't quite hear you yet. But let's begin with you, Dr. Eze. How do these controversies surrounding that's coming up after such a wonderful job that the Presidential Committee on the Fiscal Reforms did to work on those tax laws, upgrade them, update them, and all of that? Well, incidentally, you were also a part of that team. So how did you receive this news making the rounds? And do you see any truth to any of the allegations, particularly coming from the National Assembly?
Thank you, Ayo. And I want to appreciate you for...
Dr. Eze, that's for you.
I want to appreciate you for dashing me, doctor. I'm yet to be one. But be that as it may,
okay.
And the main issue is that I was surprised. Let me say so, that I was surprised that the allegation came, but I also was not too surprised because humanum est errare, to err is human. If there are errors in human conduct, it's only God that cannot make mistakes. So anything that concerns man and errors are identified, I take it as a normal thing. So that's why I said I will not be too surprised if there are errors somewhere. The thing is, investigation will reveal whether the error was intentional, deliberate, or otherwise. And I think investigation is still ongoing. the Senate is yet to take a position on the matter. The House of Reps already have a 7-man committee that are investigating the matter, and their 1 week will run out, I think, on Christmas Day. So we are expecting the outcome. A lot of reactions have come up emotionally, and one will need to sift the grains from the chaffs. So it's a process. So there is a complaint on the ground coming from the hallowed green chambers of the National Assembly. It's not something one should quickly dismiss. And it is not yet time to begin to crucify people over the allegation when investigation had not been concluded. So I think it should remain in the realm of allegation, and it should be investigated. And I know that if we get to the truth, definitely the National Assembly and the executive arm of government will do the needful to ensure that we get the ball rolling. But certainly, I don't think the allegation will be sufficient enough not to kickstart the implementation of the tax reforms. By the last time I checked, all the provisions mentioned were not up to 10. And the total number of provisions in the 4 tax reform acts, we have 203 in the Nigeria Tax Act. Apart from the 14 schedules, we have 148 in the Nigeria Tax Administration Act. Apart from the 5 schedules, we have 61 sections in the Joint Revenue Board of Nigeria Establishment Act, and about 3 schedules. Then in the Nigeria Revenue Service Act, we have about 40-something, around 43 sections, and up to not less than 3 to 4 schedules. So on the whole, you discover we have about 400, not less than 400 sections. So if we have 10 or less than 10 sections, we have issue with them. I think we can suspend them, put them in abeyance, just as we have done to sections 159 to 162 of the Nigeria Tax Act that deals with surcharge, what we call taxing petroleum motor spirit. So the tax that is supposed to be done on PMS, when Nigerians cried out, the Federal Minister of Finance said, okay, sections 159 to 162, amounting to Chapter 7 of the NTA, we will not kickstart it in January 2026. So that has been suspended. We can also put this one in abeyance and proceed with the implementation, because you realize that the budget presentation made by the President, especially in paragraph 13, is predicated on improving the revenue from the new tax framework. And if you read also paragraph 41.
Well, all of that is quite significant. There are those, it's a challenge of the process. Let me take this to Professor Oyedokun. You know, the issue a number of people have about the controversy surrounding this issue is more about process than it is about the substantive issue here now. I mean, going by what Mr. Eze said is anything to go by, that we have hundreds of provisions and only 10 or thereabouts of them are being problematic. So in that light, it still, to some people, raises questions around credibility of the process. And the end doesn't justify the means if the means is faulty. What is your take on that?
Especially greeted by Barrister Eze. He's one of our respected fellow legal advisor in CITN. Okay, so it's disturbing that we are hearing this, and if I must say something, you recall what happened during 2011 Personal Income Tax Amendment Act? For some of us, we have more than 3 versions signed out. So what I just noticed that once they notice one mistake, they quickly amend that place and still put the signature page. You know, when it is signed and all the pages are not signed, they can quickly go and do that. And I think it's just being escalated now from like what we used to see. The definition of padding emanated from the issue of budget, and that's exactly what is responsible for this. It's a pity that it's coming from National Assembly this time. Most often than not, the padding is always coming from them rather than executive. So it's not a matter to just sweep under carpet. So I think the investigation that is ongoing should continue, and we should see how it is. Now, if you look at the process of enactment of law, it's very, very, very clear and straightforward. And there's anything that we berate that, and I think it needs to be viewed in a very serious manner. And the keeping quiet of Senate, arm of National Assembly, is also disturbing and disheartening for now. So we need to hear from them. The law and legislation of any act in Nigeria should be a process where people will trust the system. So I still believe that things should be done. But when it comes to the question of what should we do to this, Barrister Eze has rightly said it, that we should suspend those contentious provisions, just like we have suspended others, then move on with our implementation, because no matter what, the little I've seen about the contentious area shows that we can go on while neutral are done during this process. So that's my take for now on what it is, why we actually need to know who is to be blamed, why I'm not recommending blame game, but we need to strengthen our institutional activities in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, it's almost as though you're re-echoing the words of Mr. Oyedele, where he says that the absence of the officially certified harmonized bill passed by the National Assembly is actually what the issue is. And then he says, even if it is established that there have been substantial alterations to what the National Assembly passed, he says his view is to identify those provisions, they're not part of the law, then implement the law as passed by the National Assembly while addressing the issues as to how they got there in the first place. But, Prof, I want you to help us understand something else that Mr. Oyedele said. He said that if these new tax laws are not implemented from the 1st of January, according to him, 98% of workers will continue to face multiple taxation if that enforcement doesn't happen on the 1st of January. What does that mean? Could you break that down for us, please?
So many careless statements from some portions of the Nigerians. People just go online, do a kind of content and just post it over there as if it ends there. Somebody will just say, next year you will pay more taxes. I've not seen any provision of this current, the new law that puts pressure more on some of our levels in terms of our level indicator of economy. And I also need to say that it is a gross disservice if this act has been passed and we do not start implementing it from June. It means on my meager salary, I am overpaying from June to December. And I still say, I'm not saying the new tax law is the best, but it's better than what we are currently using. So, and if you look at the table of what you will pay as a staff under payee, plot it on the current tax rate and plot it on what we are supposed to start by January, you will see that you are overpaying. And then you are overpaying to the extent of 6 months after the law has been passed, the law. So I wouldn't want us to use political issue to drag this implementation. I am not supporting whoever under executive power that is responsible for these discrepancies. But I'm just saying any political shenanigans that will make us to continue to pay what we are paying now. I listened to one of your guests saying that the minimum underpay is 800 and the minimum wage is about 840. Does it tell you, as of today, up to 31st December, whoever is collecting the minimum salary will still pay tax, okay, even if it is 20,000 per month. But the next one is saying no, up to 800,000. And mark me, I'm not saying the 800 should be the minimum. And I've warned NLC then that instead of you fighting that they should withdraw this tax bill then from National Assembly outrightly, canvass for jack-up in the threshold. Like, say, minimum on the personal income tax should have been 2.5 million. To have covered a lot of people on the cadre. But then, rather than negotiating, they were just clamoring for outright withdrawal. And you see what legislators did. They just went back, tinkered with it, and they passed. So what I'm saying is that we are wrong to still be delaying it up to January 1st. Not to talk of now postponing it from January 1st. I don't want to be part of it because the taxes I'll be paying on my salary, if I'm still using old law, that is the law as it were, up to 31st December 2025, I'll be paying more. If we go to ShopRite without advertising any shopping mall, as of today, you see pay taxes on food items and the likes. But by the time this new law is implemented, you will not pay on them. So why do we want to continue to postpone evil day because of the fact that some certain elements in the country wanted to politicize everything? So I'm saying that I'm not coming here to support Taiwo Edele or government, but I'm just talking as a rational human being that people that want to talk online should put this current past law with the one that we want to implement and strike line by line. After all, one honorable just did that, and that was why he was able to notice that there are some discrepancies. So wouldn't we rather be more cautious in reading the letters of the law rather than listening around and forwarding messages or TikTok things that are not substantiated?
We'll come to you shortly. I want to be able to talk with Mr. Eze, Mr. Chukwumeze. I think you've heard what Prof said, and listening to you, I feel like you do told the same line in many ways. But maybe let's talk about the reason why there's so much false information out there, at least allegedly. That's what Taiwo Edele is saying, that there's a fake news machine that is basically out there to ensure that Nigerians do not buy into these tax laws. And we had him on, at least I had him on hard copy not last week. And one of the things that he said is, listen, if someone hasn't been paying taxes for a very long time, and suddenly you threw taxes at the person, you think the person will be happy about it? And also explaining that these new tax laws doesn't affect marginally the middle class, but doesn't affect the lower class, low-income earners in this country. So if someone has been evading taxes for a very long time, and now you're trying to enforce that he has to pay that, you don't think that he would sponsor some kind of movement to end whatever you're planning that will cause him to pay these taxes? But you see, and the reason why a lot of these messages on social media are able to penetrate the Nigerian people is because of a lack of trust. We're hearing all of the things that you people, yourself included, are saying about this new time. Yes, I would like to see an increase in my payments if really the PAYE will ensure that I see more money in my account at the end of January. I'm looking forward to that. But how can you buy the trust of the Nigerian people, seeing as they've been failed by government for so very long?
Thank you so much. I think when it comes to the issue of trust, I don't have a limbam. Nigerians voted for people to represent them at the National Assembly and at the executive arm. So if they are raising issue of trust, they should ordinarily take it to those they voted for. But as a professional, as an intellectual, I will speak to the issues technically and to say that the new tax framework is revolutionary. Anytime a revolutionary action is taken, there is tendency for many reactions to follow. So I expect all these reactions. That's one. Then two, on the issue of fake information or misinformation bandied about in the social media and other fora, I think for any time you have original, you must have fake. Everything, it is a measure of life that once you have original, something fake will follow it. It takes wisdom to separate the original from the fake ones. So that's why people must be wise to separate the two. Basically on the process, a lot of work went into the new tax framework. Luckily, I was one of those that the president considered to be a member of the presidential fiscal policy committee. And I know that we did a lot of work. And to say definitely the work we did was sent to the National Assembly, and it has turned out that there are a few concerns concerning it. I've been reading, I've been wanting those people, providing quasi-solutions to say, okay, this thing should not start 1st January, let it start 1st February or 1st March. One should ask for a holistic solution. It is not enough being dismissive, dismissing the whole framework and say, okay, don't start it. Okay, you don't want it to start in January. When should it start? What impact will it have on the budget of 58.18 trillion, where you know that 34.33 trillion is the expected revenue, and much part of it will come from non-oil revenue. That the fiscal regime of that budget has to be considered. So one should, in providing a solution, should be holistic about it. Depending on sentiments alone will not be enough. What if the 2026 budget fails? What happens to the MTEF, medium-term expenditure framework? We will still be working within the MTEF that has been passed by the National Assembly. What happens to the recurrent expenditure that we are looking at? What of the capital expenditure? So all these things have to be looked at holistically.
If you can hear me,
so it will be trying to
you talked about the process.
cut the nose
issue a number of
to spite the face.
Help us understand what the process should be, or rather what the normal process should be from the point of harmonizing the law to the point of gazetting. What should the process be? Because there are those who are saying that to avert this whole, murky conversations ongoing, that would have been better for the National Assembly or some maybe members of the committee in the National Assembly to publish the harmonized bill passed from the National Assembly, and then other processes can now follow. At least that would get people started on conversations and forestall any likelihood of some hanky-panky. So help us understand what the normal process should be from the point of harmonizing it as passed by the National Assembly and to the point of gazetting.
Thank you so much. I align myself with your narrative. When a bill is passed by the House of Reps and the same bill is passed by the Senate, certainly in most cases, the wordings will not be 100% the same. There will be usually need for both houses to have a joint committee to harmonize the versions. And once those versions have been harmonized, definitely the clerk will take the next step by eventually sending it to the presidency, and the Ministry of Justice will do the needful on behalf of the presidency before the president signs it. But one of the lessons we Nigerians must learn and put the National Assembly to the spot is that their website should contain, they should publish the harmonized version in their website without delay. This happens if you check many countries, you go to their websites, you see all this information. It is when we don't get sufficient information from our institutions that we leave Nigerians to speculate. So if we end up this, even if we resolve it, and the National Assembly fail to publish the harmonized bills in their website, we will still have this problem again. So if this harmonized position is known, by the time we get the gazetted versions, then the media will be in a position to do comparative analysis, NGOs will do, institutions will do, individuals will do. But when it is hidden, when it is not known, we begin to speculate, and assuming Honorable Dasuki Abdul Samad did not come up with this, perhaps the whole country wouldn't have had anything to say. The media wouldn't have had anything to say.
Let's see if Prof. Oyedokun shares your sentiments on this same issue. Prof, the proposal that being put forward by Mr. Eze is that the National Assembly should publish the harmonized bill on their own website as job done by the National Assembly. And we have also raised the issue of buying the trust of people. Kela was asking that question the other time. Do you think that is a significant or sufficient safeguard to ensure that, you know, future alterations, if ever it is proven that there's been an alteration, can be averted that way?
Okay, so do we really need to educate these people about how best to do their job? I am not a member of National Assembly because I did not contest for it. Okay, so it's their job, and it presupposes that they've been trained on how to do their job. How do you explain that a whole National Assembly of Nigeria, with our status in the Committee of Nations, will have websites, portal that can give you all the information you need to know about their activities? I want to tell you, as a fraud examiner and forensic accountant, that fraudulent activities thrive in complexity. Okay, so when things are shrouded in secrecy, it brings about commission of fraud and the like. So this kind of fraud is legislative fraud, or I don't know, but the issue is that when you are supposed to give information and you are not giving, it is an act or omission. And when it is deliberate, in order for some set of people to be symmetrically gain from their knowledge of the truth, then you put the other party in jeopardy. And that's why they should cover their faces with their palms to say that they've erred on the part of not taking appropriate caution. So even within the space of 2-3 days that this thing has been in the public domain, what will have cost the National Assembly to just, the way they have been circulating this scanty supposed review that they just did out on social media, they should just publish the harmonized version as well. But don't forget that the politics is game of number, and it's a game that you rub my back and I rub your back. Certain set of people will be sacrificed for this, And they will have been promised that, don't worry, don't deny that you are the one, so that they can have soft landing.
I guess, you know, the coming days are going to have to tell, because today is the 23rd day in the month of December 2025. As at this morning, there has been no pronouncement anywhere that the takeoff of these other laws and the tax laws is suspended or is held up for one reason or the other. And we also hear, exactly, and the National Assembly is already starting their own investigations onto those allegations. I guess that coming days are going to tell while we wait on that. We have to thank you for your time this morning. Professor Godwin Oyedokun is a member of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, as well as a professor of accounting and financial development. We also had Mr. Chukwuemeka, who is a tax expert. He is, as Prof told us, legal advisor to CITN, and he's also been chairman of Tax Appeal Tribunal Southeast Zone. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. I'm good.
And that's the show this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Mayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day, and again, Merry Christmas.
Have a great day ahead. And hey, you know, we're seeing this statement from the Nigerian Bar Association about this whole situation. So it's an ongoing conversation. Stay with us here on Channels Television. It will all unfold right here. Stay here. It's Kayla Megwa. Have a great day ahead.